En Colados, cada taza de café comienza con la tradición. La familia Reina construyó su negocio alrededor del estilo de preparación mexicano conocido como colado.
El nombre de colado nació por una forma tradicional que usamos en México. Es la forma de cómo se filtra el café. Se usa un filtro de tela y es como muy común, muy tradicional la forma como se prepara o se preparaba más bien en México.
Para ellos, las puertas siempre están abiertas. Empezaron con una sola tienda, ahora son 3, pero el crecimiento no siempre ha sido fácil.
También es muy importante ver dónde estamos y para dónde vamos, ver el crecimiento, ver cómo estamos trabajando, cómo está el servicio al cliente, los manuales, el sistema. Todo eso creo que ha ayudado para que podamos enfocarnos más en el crecimiento de la empresa.
Ahí es donde la ciudad de Phoenix ha marcado la diferencia.
Hemos recibido entrenamiento, hemos recibido mucha ayuda de parte de ellos porque buscamos a personas que nos ayudaran con el servicio al cliente, requieran algún tipo de liderazgo y la ciudad de Phoenix apoyó con fondos para que podamos llevarlo a cabo.
Los programas de la ciudad han apoyado a la capacitación y el desarrollo de los empleados, ayudando a Colados a fortalecer su equipo, ofreciendo la misma experiencia cálida, ya sea que los clientes entren en Avondale, Goodyear o Phoenix.
Nosotros como dueños somos el reflejo delante del cliente de cómo tratamos a los empleados. Para nosotros ha sido un papel muy importante poder tratar bien a nuestros empleados para que nos representen bien delante de nuestros clientes.
Ese compromiso también se refleja en los pequeños detalles. En la pared, un espejo recuerda a los clientes: eres más de lo que ves en el espejo. Es un reflejo de la creencia de la empresa del que el café no se trata solo de una taza, sino de elevar a las personas a quienes sirven. Para la familia Reina, la excelencia y la hospitalidad van de la mano.
Yo espero que podamos crecer orgánicamente y también poder seguir contribuyendo a la comunidad, que es lo más importante para nosotros. O sea, poder seguir siendo una fuente de empleos donde podamos ayudar, porque muchos jóvenes trabajan para nosotros, muchos que están yendo a la escuela, a la high school, entonces somos como un puente para ellos, para que ellos puedan continuar sus estudios. Entonces nos enorgullece mucho que podamos en cierta manera ayudar a esos jóvenes a lograr sus objetivos a largo plazo.
Y como negocio latino, Reina espera que Colados inspire a la próxima generación de emprendedores.
Sí se puede lograr el éxito, sí se puede obtener lo que deseamos. Claro, hay que pagar un precio, hay un sacrificio por emprender, pero hoy en día, como lo mencioné, hay muchas oportunidades para crecer, hay muchas oportunidades para emprender. Simplemente hay que tocar las puertas adecuadas. Como lo dije al principio, no es fácil, pero tampoco imposible.
Para Colados, el café es más que una bebida, es una conexión con la cultura, con la comunidad y con el futuro de Phoenix.
We all want to get to our destination safely, so be aware of everything happening around you whenever walking, riding, or rolling along our streets. Most pedestrian and bike crashes happen when drivers are turning. Scan the street for wheels and feet when turning or entering intersections.
I didn't know the Lifetime Achievement Award, okay. That's taking me back a little bit, okay. I don't think anyone in the nonprofit world does this for accolades. We do it because of our mission and what we're trying to do for the community. I got involved with the Foundation for Blind Children when my son was born. Max was 3 months when his doctor said something's wrong with his eyes, and the last thing the doctor told us to do was to call the Foundation for Blind Children. We called them and they showed up on our doorstep the next day, and from that moment on we were a part of Foundation for Blind Children. My wife and I got on the board. Once I was on the board, our CEO retired, and I looked at my wife and I said, I think this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And I sold my company and came to work here, and that was 17 years ago. We built this into the largest Braille library in the country. We built this in the largest preschool in the country. We serve blind and visually impaired people of all ages from the day they're born to the day they leave us. Our oldest client right now is 101 years old. We are overcoming major chronic problems We didn't have enough teachers, so we built a teachers program with ASU. We didn't have a low vision clinic, so we built a low vision clinic. We needed more classroom space, so we built a new school. Whatever the obstacle is, we will overcome it, and that's what we teach our students. Vision loss is not the end of the world. It's just a different world. The Foundation for Blind Children really gives parents that hope and give those students, those children that hope that they can do anything. And we've proven it over and over again. They do everything. We took 8 blind students to the top of Mount Kilimanjaro, 19,340 feet. We set 4 world records. We had the largest blind group ever. We had the first blinded US vet to reach the top, first person with albinism to reach the top, and my son was the youngest blind climber ever reached the top, and still is. That's my favorite part about my job. I get to tell the story over and over and over again, and it inspires people to do bigger and better things. And I love the Foundation for Blind Children. I love our students, I love our families. I truly believe that doing right for them completes me, makes me who I am. When the mayor's office recognizes you for what we do every day, it's pretty special. I know that over my lifetime I've done some special things. I've seen some kids do some special things. I've led some kids in the top of mountains, across oceans, and I didn't do it for the accolades, but I did it for the kids. But it's always nice when the mayor recognizes you.
Up until 1889, the majority of the water that was used by Phoenicians came from the actual original canal that went through town. In 1889, a man named John Gardner started the first city waterworks, which is where we're standing today. Water was delivered to this very spot at Verde Park by a redwood tunnel that extended for 30 miles to the east and the northeast. Part of the city waterworks in 1938 was this pump house. It was built with the intention of being an emergency pump house. Water has always been an important element of thriving in the Valley of the Sun. This pump house represents one of the few remaining structures that show how that water was transported in the early 20th century. And it's a wonderful piece of architecture here in the southwest corner of the Garfield Historic District that we can all continue to enjoy here at Verde Park.
Hispanic Heritage Month is a time to honor culture, celebrate community, and highlight the people making a difference across the city of Phoenix. One of those groups is the Phoenix Hispanic Network, an employee resource group focused on helping city staff grow, connect, and lead.
The Phoenix Hispanic Network, we're an employee resource group that is focused on fostering and supporting the growth of City of Phoenix employees. We offer different networking opportunities and opportunities for growth, just to get to know their community and work together.
Jessica Gutierrez, a Public Works Operations Manager, serves as PHN's Vice President. She says staying involved is about giving back.
I really have a passion for helping City of Phoenix employees grow and really get to know their community. So in this role, I get the opportunity to create events, networking opportunities, and help employees just develop as professionals within the City of Phoenix.
The network has a long history, revitalized in 2015 under then City Manager Ed Zerker to expand opportunities for employees. But PHN's impact extends well beyond City Hall.
The Phoenix Hispanic Network is really focused on community growth. Without our community, we aren't Phoenix, so really just giving back.
That commitment includes scholarships for high school seniors, helping the next generation pursue their education.
The Community Engagement Scholarship is one of those scholarships that we do offer to our high school seniors. Phoenix Hispanic Network is really focused on community growth. Without our community, we aren't Phoenix, so really just giving back.
For Gutierrez, the goals are simple: grow membership, expand resources, and create a stronger community.
We're all about growing our employees, just helping them and providing whatever resources we can. I just really want to encourage employees to feel comfortable to reach out to us if they're interested or just have any curiosity.
During Hispanic Heritage Month and all year long, the Phoenix Hispanic Network continues building bridges for employees and the communities they serve.
We all want to get to our destination safely, so be aware of everything happening around you whenever walking, riding, or rolling along our streets. Most pedestrian and bike crashes happen when drivers are turning. Scan the street for wheels and feet when turning or entering intersections.
El mes de la herencia hispana es un momento para honrar la cultura, celebrar la comunidad y destacar a las personas que marcan la diferencia en la ciudad de Phoenix. Uno de esos grupos es la Red Hispana de Phoenix, un grupo de recursos para empleados enfocado en ayudar al personal municipal a crecer, conectar y liderar.
PHN es un grupo con la ciudad de Phoenix que apoya las carreras profesionales para la ciudad de Phoenix.
Gisela González, analista de investigación de la Policía de Phoenix, es la presidenta de PHN. Ella afirma que ayudar al grupo también la ha ayudado a crecer profesionalmente.
Lo que más me ha gustado siendo miembro de PHN es la oportunidad de ayudar a otros empleados con la ciudad de Phoenix con sus carreras profesionales y me ha dado oportunidades para mí personalmente con mi carrera también.
La red tiene una larga trayectoria, revitalizada en 2015 bajo la dirección del entonces administrador municipal.
En 2015, nuestro exgerente Ed Zerker quería revivir los grupos de empleados con la ciudad de Phoenix y PHN era uno de esos grupos. Y desde ese año hemos apoyado a los empleados con eventos como conferencias y seminarios.
Para Gisela, el objetivo es simple: ayudar y ampliar los recursos y crear una comunidad más fuerte.
Una de las cosas que soy muy orgullosa de con PHN es los recursos que hemos creado para el uso de los empleados de la ciudad de Phoenix.
Durante el mes de la herencia hispana y durante todo el año, la Red Hispana de Phoenix continúa construyendo puentes entre los empleados y la comunidad a la que sirven.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It's official, Phoenix is on the clock, 226 days until tip-off.
Today was the official kickoff of the countdown clock at Sky Harbor Airport, marking 226 days until tip-off for the 2026 Women's Final Four.
This is the first time we've ever hosted the Women's Final Four. We're really looking forward to April, where we will welcome fans from all over the world to see the best in women's college basketball.
It is going to be an amazing party and campus in downtown Phoenix. What's really interesting about this event is all of the extra events are free. So it's family friendly. It'll be throughout the weekend. It's a holiday weekend with Easter. And so we'll be able to see families from around the state and around the city come down and enjoy the Women's Final Four.
We have 4 Division I programs here in Arizona. So this community is more than ready to embrace the Women's Final Four when it takes center stage. It's going to be the best setting for the Women's Final Four. For young fans, for players, for coaches, for families, they get to create lifelong memories on one of the biggest stages in sports.
Really, there's nothing like the excitement of March Madness. Women's basketball is on the rise. As someone who played basketball, I too was one of those that envisioned it being at the pedestal that it is today. Yes, they drive tourism. Yes, they drive economic development. But they really give us, our state, our city, an opportunity on the national and global scale to have exposure.
The NCAA has been wonderful about partnering with our Parks Department.
They did renovations and projects such as East Lake Park, got to see new basketball courts and redesign of their facilities. And I'm just excited to see how it all comes to fruition in 226 days.
Phoenix is a basketball town. We are also Championship Valley. We have welcomed the NCAA, Super Bowls, great soccer. This is the place to host championship events.
There is no greater place than Phoenix in April because the weather is amazing and we are coming off of spring training, so just get ready to have amazing weather, good sports, and good food out in Phoenix.
So for the next 226 days, this clock will not only serve as a reminder of the Women's Final Four for the millions of travelers that come through beautiful Sky Harbor Airport, it's also a point of pride for all of us here in the community.
You'll see that we are excited about the NCAA Final Four. The women are going to be really proud of the event we put on.
We all want to get to our destination safely, so be aware of everything happening around you whenever walking, riding, or rolling along our streets. Most pedestrian and bike crashes happen when drivers are turning. Scan the street for wheels and feet when turning or entering intersections.
En Phoenix, dos líderes empresariales hispanas están rompiendo barreras, una guiando a emprendedores a través del sistema legal y la otra ayudando a la ciudad y a las empresas a comunicarse con las comunidades latinas de la manera correcta. Ayensa Millán ha construido su carrera en torno a ayudar a otros a alcanzar el sueño americano. Como abogada de inmigración y de lesiones personales en Phoenix, trabaja con emprendedores de todo el mundo que desean invertir y crecer aquí.
Tenemos negocios que tienen el interés no solamente de venir a este país, pero específicamente a esta ciudad por las oportunidades que se ofrecen.
Millán ve reflejada su propia historia en la de sus clientes. Muchos de ellos llegan con un poco más que determinación y un sueño.
Estos inmigrantes vienen con un sueño. No saben cómo van a cumplir ese sueño, no tienen las oportunidades, no tienen los recursos, pero tienen la convicción, tienen esa habilidad de trabajar duro y de seguir adelante porque saben que tienen oportunidades en este país que no van a tener en ningún otro país.
Ella afirma que la resiliencia define a las personas a las que ayuda, hombres y mujeres trabajadores que ven los desafíos como escalones hacia adelante.
Tienen la convicción, tienen esa habilidad de trabajar duro y de seguir adelante porque saben que tienen oportunidades en este país que no van a tener en ningún otro país. Y por eso siguen, y eso es lo que los hace, esa resiliencia es lo que los hace que tengan éxito y que puedan desarrollar sus sueños.
Para Millán, los momentos más gratificantes llegan cuando sus clientes finalmente pueden visualizar su camino hacia el futuro.
Tengo la habilidad de ayudar, de ver cómo ellos me miran a mí como si yo les hubiera proveído una oportunidad inalcanzable. Y miro la gratitud en sus ojos.
Dice que sus logros fortalecen a Phoenix trayendo nuevos negocios, empleos e inversiones a la comunidad.
Y estas personas, en cambio, lo que hacen es ayudar a otra gente. Se involucran en la comunidad, crecen negocios, pagan impuestos, ellos se encargan de otra gente, tienen empleados y vienen con ese sueño no solamente para ayudar a la comunidad hispana, pero ayudar a toda nuestra comunidad.
Esa misma misión, crear oportunidades y crear puentes entre comunidades, es lo que impulsa a María Rabago. Después de 15 años como periodista, dio un giro hacia el emprendimiento y fundó María Rabago Productions, una agencia de marketing enfocada en la cultura y la comunicación.
No hacemos las cosas de manera tradicional, hacemos las cosas de una manera muy orgánica para conectar desde la cuestión emocional, desde la cuestión de experiencia y vivencias.
Su trabajo de consultoría con la ciudad de Phoenix se ha centrado en ayudar a los líderes a relacionarse mejor con los residentes latinos, no solo a través del idioma, sino también mediante la comprensión cultural.
Conozco no solamente el idioma, sino la cultura de ellos.
Rabago afirma que el éxito significa más que dirigir un negocio. Se trata de abrir puertas para los demás. Ella ve el creciente apoyo de Phoenix a las pequeñas empresas como una oportunidad para integrar aún más emprendedores latinos.
Creo yo que la necesidad está en la educación. Para que crezca tu negocio, como dueño de negocio tienes que educarte, constantemente evolucionar y educarte. Y la ciudad de Phoenix es un ejemplo perfecto porque ofrece tantos diferentes programas de asistencia, de apoyo a los pequeños negocios como el mío.
Para Millán y Rabago, el éxito no es solo personal. Se trata de ayudar a otros a escribir sus propias historias, construir negocios, crear empleos y dar forma al futuro de Phoenix.
Checkmate.
Good info is a good thing. The Broadway Curve project is in the works. Prepare for lane closures and detours. Stay ahead of the curve at i10broadwaycurve.com.
Up until 1889, the majority of the water that was used by Phoenicians came from the actual original canal that went through town. In 1889, a man named John Gardner started the first city waterworks, which is where we're standing today. Water was delivered to this very spot at Verde Park by a redwood tunnel that extended for 30 miles to the east and the northeast. Part of the city waterworks in 1938 was this pump house. It was built with the intention of being an emergency pump house. Water has always been an important element of thriving in the Valley of the Sun. This pump house represents one of the few remaining structures that show how that water was transported in the early 20th century. And it's a wonderful piece of architecture here in the southwest corner of the Garfield Historic District that we can all continue to enjoy here at Verde Park.
Welcome to the Cesar Chavez Community Center, the City of Phoenix's newest recreation center here in the beautiful Levine Village. Come, I'll take you around. Over here you will see the Cesar Chavez timeline. It's a great piece of work. As soon as you walk into the facility, you can see all the impact that Cesar Chavez has had in Arizona, and it's for you guys to see when you guys arrive. This here is our lovely gymnasium. It has basketball capacity, volleyball, pickleball. We have wonderful courts that are meant for youth and adult spaces. And this is also included in your membership when you register at phoenix.gov or at our front desk. Welcome to our multi-purpose room. This room is designed to have special events, meetings, take classes. It seats anywhere between 80 to 100 people and is reservable. This is our beautiful courtyard, along with lawn games where families can come and enjoy the beautiful Arizona weather. This space is also available to reserve for special occasions and special gatherings. And this is our beautiful teaching style kitchen that we have here at the Cesar Chavez Community Center. It is designed to teach classes here in our community. So if you're interested in cooking 101 or maybe baking, this might be a good class for you to come and take. We have stoves, refrigerators, microwaves, and I know this will be a great place for you to come and enjoy and learn to cook. And this is our wonderful game room space where it's designed for youth and adults to come hang out and engage in a friendly game of pool table, hockey, or foosball. This is also a great space for parents to come hang out while their children are taking classes here at our lovely community center. This is one of the amenities that is included in your membership here at the Cesar Chavez Community Center. And this is our beautiful upstairs fitness center that is designed with cardio machines, free weights, weight machines, and if fitness is one of your goals, this might be a place for you. Out here, we have this beautiful view of the Estrella Mountains, where while you're working out, you can have a great view here. This also has an outdoor space that is designed to take a class, maybe like an outdoor yoga or meditation.
Good morning and welcome to the Transportation Infrastructure and Planning Subcommittee, the meeting for October 15th, 2025. I'm calling the meeting to order. And if Derek, our city attorney, if you could explain public comment.
Sure, Madam Chair. Members of the public may speak for up to 2 minutes to comment on agenda items to be discussed. Comments must be related to the agenda item and the action being considered by the subcommittee. General comments that go beyond the scope of the agenda item must be made in the call to the public session at the end of the agenda. The City Council and staff cannot discuss or comment on matters related to pending investigations, claims, or litigation. Additionally, any member of the public who appears before the subcommittee in their capacity as a lobbyist must, as required by Phoenix City Code, disclose this fact before addressing the subcommittee. The City Code requires speakers to present their comments in a respectful and courteous manner. Profane language, threats, or personal attacks on members of the public, council members, or staff are not allowed. Speakers should not act in a disrespectful manner that is openly hostile to others. A person who violates these rules may lose their opportunity to continue to speak.
Thank you. Next, I'd like to introduce our interpreter, Elsie Duarte.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, my name is Elsie Duarte. I will be providing Spanish interpretation during today's Transportation Infrastructure and Planning Subcommittee meeting. I will now take a moment to address our Spanish-speaking audience. Buenos días, mi nombre es Elsie Duarte. Estaré interpretándoles a nuestra audiencia de habla hispana durante la sesión del Subcomité de Transporte, Infraestructura y Planificación. Para escuchar la reunión en español, favor de pasar por unos audífonos ubicados a la entrada de la sala de cámaras. Las personas que pasen al frente para hacer un comentario público podrán hablar libremente sin interrupciones durante el tiempo disponible. Sus comentarios serán interpretados al momento que usted termine de hablar. Gracias. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. So our first item is approval of minutes. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second. All in favor say aye. Aye. The ayes have it. Next is our consent agenda, which is items 2 through 5. I do want to mention that item 2 is the city floodplain management plan update. And not that we need a presentation today, but I think in the future, given the recent rains, I know I got a lot of complaints. I suspect District 8 probably did because of the Levine area. We might like to have a presentation on that. So just alerting you, Eric, wherever. There you are, Eric. Thank you. So with that, do I have a motion on the consent?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. The ayes have it. Next is item 6. This is information only. Any concerns, any comments? All right, well, then we will move to item 7, which is the 2025 Park Summer Program postseason update. Welcome, Cynthia. And I see you have Danielle and Becky. Hi.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the subcommittee. We're happy to be here with you today with a good news update. We wanted to share information about how summer 2025 went. With me today, I have Deputy Director Danielle Poveromo, who will provide us with an update on our Phoenix Place summer camps, followed by Becky Kirk, our aquatic supervisor. And with that, I will turn it over to Danielle.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the subcommittee. Thank you for the opportunity today to present the summer program from our Phoenix Plays. We had an eventful summer. It was filled with laughter, learning, just the right amount of organized chaos with arts and crafts, water days, and hands-on science experiments. And our participants had fun. Just an overview about our summer camp program. We have 26 locations. The ages for this program are 6 to 12. We can accommodate anywhere from 40 to 150 participants based on the site. They're split into groups based on their age and rotate through a series of activities to keep them engaged throughout the day. Our camp schedule follows the local school district calendar to ensure that we're offering timely programs to meet parents' needs. Some of our sites also offer pre and post to ensure there's coverage for our community. We also are proud to offer a teen volunteer program. These are for individuals that have aged out of being a part of the participants in the summer camp, ages 13 to 15. This provides the teens with leadership building skills while staying active and engaged. And over this summer, we had over 200 teens that volunteered. They also serve as a positive role model for those younger campers. This year, our summer camps were filled with field trips, water pool days. These might include walking to the pool or having inflatables that have water with them. Our staff got very creative and included age-appropriate game show recreations like Deal or No Deal and Jeopardy! We also had field trips where we went to Urban Air, Slick City, Jake's Unlimited. We also had guest presenters like the Yo-Yo Guy and the Wildlife World Zoo, where live animals were brought in for kids to see and experience. And then we also love when our park rangers come to visit and they hand out stickers and talk about the importance of being a good steward of our parks and preserves. This year, we also added some new components, and one is a local program called Lifesavers Phoenix. This is a CPR class for ages 8 through 12, and it empowers kids to feel confident with life-saving skills. We also incorporated 602 Day, everyone's local favorite, where we did crafts, events, and pictures. One vital component to our program is ensuring that kids are fueled and fueled for the day so that they can enjoy the program. So they are served breakfast, lunch, and snacks. They're healthy and balanced. And this year, we served over 4,000 meals a day in our program. So our marketing efforts were also enhanced this year. We had paid ads that are community-focused with outreach for camps, particularly with low enrollment. These are both in English and Spanish. We use Nextdoor and social media, where we generated over 200,000 impressions that directed folks to our city enrollment ActiveNet portal. The Nextdoor post delivered over 12,000 impressions and were focused on 16 different neighborhoods. So as I mentioned last spring, one component that's a vital resource for our staff is asking parents and kids, how did we do? So you'll see here that parents and guardians scored the program high for meeting expectations, and the kids found the program to be fun. When asked about why they chose the Phoenix Summer Plays Camp, 36% reported location, 32% said price, and 17% said staff, 12% said friends. We also implemented a weekly registration option at all centers, and we also received positive feedback for that. Our program ensures that we are meeting the price point for any budget and any schedule, and time that is necessary. And this is all done thanks to our staff. Our team goes out of their way to create an unforgettable experience for youth, organizing 10 weeks of engaging activities. Bringing their energy, patience, and leadership makes our camp a place where kids and parents want to be. And with that, I'll turn it over to Becky Kirk.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the subcommittee. Thank you for the opportunity to share with you about the aquatics program from this past summer. This year, our aquatic facilities welcomed over 287,000 visitors, which is about a 5% increase from 2024. Of the 19 pools operated by the city this summer, 16 participated in the Cool Kids program, and which allows kids 17 and younger to swim for free. In addition, this year we did operate a 20th pool, which was the Telephone Pioneer Pool, which was operated by Ability 360 with a partnership with them. Swim lessons are a priority for the Parks and Recreation Department to help address the drowning rate in our community. Additional swim classes were offered in 2025. Over 13,200 participants registered for these lessons, which is an increase of an additional 1,100 participants from last year. The Parks and Recreation Department is committed to maintaining affordability and access for all residents to ensure they learn how to swim. Our lessons continue to be $15 per session, which equates to about $1.88 per class. Arizona Diamondbacks and Presidential Pools sponsored over 1,600 participants at a reduced price of $3 for a session to participate in our swimming lessons this year. During the month of August, the department expanded our swim lesson program offering to 6 additional pools with programs specifically designed for children ages 3 to 5 who are among the most at risk for drowning. These 6 sites were chosen to participate in the August lessons where classes were offered, these six sites chosen to participate in the August lessons include sites where there were less classes that were offered during our regular swim season in comparison to other sites, and where populations typically have less opportunity to register for these programs. Approximately 200 participants registered for these August classes. Sorry. Oh, sorry. There we go. Phoenix is unique. Every summer, we must recruit hundreds, anywhere from 550 to 650 aquatic staff from scratch due to being a seasonal operation with seasonal employment. Surrounding cities typically hire 100 to 150 staff to operate their pools. The Parks and Recreation Department hired over 500 aquatic staff this past summer. Recruitment for aquatics takes place year-round. Therefore, preparation for the 2026 season has already begun with lifeguard certification courses that have started in September and will continue through March. Social media campaign continues throughout our recruitment period. Posts have already begun with advertising our lifeguard classes. We have already begun going to high schools with our outreach at their swim and dive meets, at their swim practices, lunch visits, PE classes, sporting events, and their career fairs. Here in Arizona, we have to take extra precautions when it comes to protecting our aquatic staff who are working in the extreme heat. We provide a cooled space for respite from the heat. Working in extreme environments requires personal protective equipment and education. Annually, staff are educated and trained on how to protect themselves from sun exposure and skin cancer. The city provides resources and requirements and puts requirements in place to protect staff from these elements. Staff are provided a uniform that includes a swimsuit, a shirt, shorts, a rash guard, which is a long-sleeved UV protected shirt, sunscreen, a whistle, pocket mask, and hip pack. It is also a requirement while guarding that staff must have at least 2 layers of protection from the sun. This includes either the shirt or rash guard, a hat, and/or an umbrella. New in 2025, we have one of our biggest challenges is opening as many pools as we have pool managers. Therefore, this summer we focused on building our pool management pipeline. Forecasting the need for a larger management team, approximately 50 swim instructors were identified as individuals who are interested in managing pools next season, participated in an intensive hands-on accelerated assistant manager training program, as well as a 2-week aquatic academy to learn and prepare for the duties of an assistant manager in a new position. In addition, each pool established a head lifeguard position, selecting over 60 swim instructors to take on leadership roles within their teams. This provided them with targeted experience in guiding and mentoring their peers. These efforts create a stronger foundation for future pool management. As you can see, retention is an important part of maintaining a large seasonal workforce. Working throughout the year to remain in regular contact with previous employees is essential. The aquatics team has encouraged aquatic employees from 2025 to participate in the upcoming Trunk or Treat Halloween event, the Electric Light Parade, and the Polar Plunge to keep employees engaged. Pool managers also reach out to their teams from the previous summer to answer questions, to remind them timelines of hiring to come back for the next summer. Madam Chair and members of the subcommittee, this concludes our presentation, and we'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you so much. Great presentation. I'm very excited about your Accelerated Assistant Manager program. I know that's been quite an issue for you, and this is a smart way to program. As far as trunk or treat events, I don't know about the rest of you, but I've got 4 coming up. So they have really become wildly successful, and I think it's a great alternative rather than having kids knock door to door anymore. So I really do appreciate everything you guys are doing. Another great summer program. I remember when my kids were in the summer program, they would come home exhausted, and I thank you for that because I get them to bed on time. Are there any other comments or questions? Yes, Councilwoman.
Thank you, Chair. I just too also wanted to say thank you to the Parks and Recreation staff for this thorough update on the 2025 summer programs. I appreciate the efforts that the department does to provide safe, engaging, and accessible activities for our youths and their parents. I thought it was very insightful to see that both the parents and the participants' feedback was so positive. It tells me you're doing the right thing, so kudos and a job well done. I am very pleased, of course, always to see the lessons learned from the season being applied towards expanding access, improving the program offerings, and addressing the challenges so that even more children and families can benefit from these valuable opportunities. Aquatics and the Cool Kids is one of the fun things that my office gets to do. We do over the summer. We had a few DA pool parties with buddies, and it was always a joy to see the participants. Staff was always helpful and well-trained. In fact, we featured the lifeguards on Keisha on their job, and I was able to see their dedication up close and personal. I'm personally a little biased. I'm excited and eager to await the East Lake pool opening in a few. And I also have a wish list. I would like to see Hermosa Park also be added to next year's offering. I think the more that we provide our individuals with opportunities to learn to swim and to have fun, safe, affordable, a great time over the summer is always a good bet. So I just want to say thank you for a job well done, and thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councilman Robinson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I want to thank everyone as well. We know how important these programs are, and it's already been echoed by my colleagues. It's the first step. It really is in keeping kids engaged and in line and all those types of things. And as I look at a couple of the pictures, I was wondering, did anyone identify a future Inger Erickson in the crowd? Because, and I make a little light of that, but the reality of it all is, we're going to have some people who are opposed, some young folks who are exposed to the city of Phoenix through these programs. We don't know where it's going to take them or what impact it may have in their lives, but it's very important what you're doing. So thank you. It's a great presentation. Thank you for the time, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Any other comments? All right. Well, thank you so much for everything you guys do. Keep up the great work. Appreciate it. Next, item 8, the Downtown North-South Bikeway Study Update. Brianna and Andrew are coming down, as well as Letitia. Thank you. And welcome.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the subcommittee. I'm joined today by Assistant Director Andy Granger, as well as Interim Deputy Director Leticia Vargas. And we are here today to provide an update on the Downtown North-South Bikeway Study, which aims to provide a connected route for the active transportation network in the downtown core. While there are some challenges with funding and how changes to the roadway impact adjacent stakeholders, through additional collaboration and analysis, there is an opportunity to move closer to design and construction of this project. I will now turn the presentation over to Leticia Vargas to share the overview of the presentation.
Thank you, Brianna, Madam Chair, and members of the subcommittee. In today's presentation, we will highlight a few key points. We will provide you with a brief overview of the study's background and purpose. We will provide details on the evaluation criteria and the public input that we received. We will discuss some key findings, challenges, and opportunities. We will show you 2 proposed design concepts that were developed as a part of this study. Finally, we will talk about the next steps. The 3rd Street bicycle corridor shown on the map has been included in several city plans and projects. It was identified as the highest ranking active transportation corridor in the city's 2014 Bicycle Master Plan, specifically between Buckeye Road and Indian School Road. Since then, 3 major projects have either been completed or are underway. These are the 3rd Street Promenade Project, the 3rd Street Rio Reimagined Bike Pedestrian Bridge, and the 3rd Street Connector Project. Today, we will focus on the Downtown North-South Bikeway Study. The Downtown North-South Bikeway Study began in 2022, covering the area from Roosevelt to Lincoln Street, 7th Street to Central Avenue, shown on the map on the slide. The goal was to confirm whether 3rd Street remains the best and safest route for people walking, biking, or using other active transportation modes, especially considering rapid downtown development, the light rail expansion, and our evolving user needs. Another key reason for doing the study now was to prepare for potential federal and regional funding opportunities, including grants through the Maricopa Association of Governments. To identify the preferred route, the study team evaluated all north-south streets in the area using these criteria. We looked at traffic volumes, parking needs, corridor continuity, connectivity to key destinations, as well as public input. The visual on the right summarizes the feedback we received. Over 200 people participated through an online survey or attended in-person meetings at Burton Bar, Library, and other stakeholder events. Taking all the input and criteria into account, the thick green lines on the map show how corridors ranked, with the thickest line highlighting the 3rd Street as the preferred route. While 3rd Street offers a continuous north-south connection
and direct access to major destinations like the Phoenix Convention Center, Chase Field, and Mortgage Match Center, it does present some challenges. Between Washington and Monroe 3rd Street is closed to traffic during special events for about 40 days in a year. This section, known as the Canyon on 3rd, is not public right-of-way, but is owned by the Phoenix Convention Center. To address this, the study team identified 1st Street as a viable alternate route during closures. The project team developed 2 design concepts that we will be presenting on today. Concept 1 focuses on a more permanent solution and includes vertical safety features like concrete curb medians and vertical delineators. These features help separate vehicles from people walking, biking, using e-scooters or wheelchairs. Let's look at additional elements of Concept 1. Concept 1 also includes converting 3rd Street to 2-way traffic along the entire corridor, essentially 1 lane in each direction. It also includes modifying 11 traffic signals to support 2-way travel. It includes constructing a concrete curb protected bikeway on the west side of 3rd Street as shown on the visual in the rendering. It also would preserve parking where feasible, and this can be seen on the visual as well. It would include upgrading the Union Pacific Railroad crossing south of Jackson Street. And finally, Concept 1 would also include applying pavement treatments and pavement markings, including signage along the entire corridor. The estimated cost for Concept 1 is $17 million, as shown in the orange box. Due to concerns from adjacent property stakeholders about the vertical elements in Concept 1, the team developed a lower cost, non-vertical alternative that we're calling Concept 2, which will be presented by our Assistant Director, Andy Granger.
Thanks, Letitia. Chair Stark and members of the subcommittee, as Letitia stated, knowing the interests of the active transportation community to extend a bike lane along 3rd Street through the downtown area, combined with the stakeholder concerns along the corridor regarding the Concept 1 impacts, especially regarding ingress and egress during special events, and the department's limited capacity to fund Concept 1, the Streets Department engaged our consultant to evaluate a second concept to remove the vertical protection but still provide alternative protection for a 2-way bike lane along the west side of 3rd Street. The intent was to address quicker by the department. So this shows some of the impacts and some of the special events along the 3rd Street that the stakeholders that we engaged had concerns with, including sporting events and street events along 3rd Street. So our consultant developed an alternative concept to remove the vertical elements, most of the vertical elements along 3rd Street, and this is the concept that we've come up with. It preserves the 2-way bike lane along the west side of 3rd Street. It also provides horizontal protection in the form of painting, which is the white hash marks just east of the 2-way bike lanes, and parking protection just east of that hatched area to provide additional vertical protection for those bike lanes. This first image is looking north of Jefferson Street towards Washington Street. We have a similar concept for 3rd Street just north of Van Buren Street. Again, it has the parking protection and the horizontal protection with the 2-way bike lane along the west side of the street. I will say that in both of these renderings, we do remove one southbound travel lane, and that's predominantly the theme of the corridor, is removing one southbound travel lane. We haven't looked at the traffic impacts of that, but that's one of the recommendations that we'll make moving forward. Similarly, along Fillmore Street at 3rd Street, this area, the line of cars just east of that hatch mark is the parking protection, along with 2 southbound lanes and the 2-way bike lane on the west side of 3rd Street. And then north of Garland, similar concept. This doesn't have the parking protection. There wasn't space for that, but it does provide 2 lanes of southbound traffic east of the horizontal protection. And then lastly, at Roosevelt, again, very similar. There is, the arrows don't show the through movement, but there would be a through movement in at least one of those lanes and probably both of those lanes, which is what is existing today. And the cost of this Concept 2 is significantly less than Concept 1 at $2.1 million. The benefits of Concept 2, as we said, it'll create that north-south active transportation corridor through the downtown area. It capitalizes on upcoming pavement maintenance projects. We do have a mill and overlay project scheduled from Roosevelt down to Monroe that we could combine with this project and make this project more seamless, less impacts to the public during construction, and also potentially reduce the cost of Concept 2. Like we stated, this concept could reduce the construction costs and the timelines. We think that we can implement this with local funds, but that's something that we would go back and evaluate if directed to move forward. It also allows for some of those concept and the vertical improvements in Concept 1 to be implemented in the future if we decided that that was beneficial as, based on looking at the operations and the improvements that would make it even safer for a bike lane. With that, I'll turn it over to our director, Brianna Velez.
Thank you, Andy. So, Madam Chair, members of the subcommittee, as you just heard, there is a substantial cost associated with Concept 1, and there are concerns by adjacent stakeholders that the vertical elements and reconfiguration of the roadway impacts event activations in the street. Concept 2 addresses most of these concerns, but there is additional work and collaboration that is still needed. The recommended next steps include modifying the southern limit of the proposed project to end at Jefferson Street to allow for the extensive coordination with the Union Pacific Railroad on any changes needed adjacent to their crossing south of Jackson Street. This section of roadway from Jefferson to Lincoln would be incorporated in the 3rd Street connector study currently underway from Lincoln Street to Rio Salado. There also needs to be additional traffic analysis associated with any lane removals proposed in Concept 2 to understand any impacts. Staff would also engage with key stakeholders to refine the design elements to minimize negative impacts to event activity, while also providing the active transportation route through the downtown core. Then we would share the updated alternative concept with the community and work towards identifying funding to move forward with the design and construction of this project. And with that, we'd be happy to take any questions.
Thank you. I was going to say we have a number of speakers. Why don't we go ahead and take them? And it looks like I have a revised sheet. So I will start with the folks in person. And I will probably butcher names, so I apologize in advance. First speaker, William Kubunka. Did I say that right, William? You can. I apologize in advance.
William Kubinka.
Close.
Close enough. I would like to thank the street departments for their work on this effort. I know it's a lot to balance all the different objectives. Honestly, the plan looks pretty good. My main critique is that the removal of the vertical surfaces, you can't really call paint protection. So I'm actually good with the parking protected parts of the lane, but I would like to see the vertical protection remain in place north of Van Buren, where there is not those activations that we need to worry about on the streets. I'll yield my time.
Thank you so much. Next speaker, Arja. Again, I apologize in advance.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the subcommittee. My name is Arj Agarwal. I live up north near I-17 in Happy Valley, but I'm here because a safe and connected city benefits all of us, regardless of what part of Phoenix we call home. Of course, I don't live downtown, but I visit pretty often. I'm there for events, meetings, dinner with friends, and quite frankly, rather than deal with the chaos of I-17, I'd rather take light rail, bring my bike, or grab a scooter, and move around safely without adding to the traffic or fighting for parking. A protected north-south bikeway on 3rd Street makes that possible. It's good for downtown residents, it's good for visitors like me, and it's good for the businesses that depend on both. This corridor has been Phoenix's top-ranked active transportation priority for over a decade. The improvements north of Roosevelt already work beautifully, and now it's time to extend that same level further south. I will say concept 2, which is mostly paint and signage, isn't adequate protection. It's mostly decorative. Drivers can drift over that without any consequence, and anyone who's ever been on a bike knows the feeling of being inches from a side mirror. Concrete curbs work. They physically separate people from traffic, and they make the street calmer for everyone, drivers included. But I do believe that the concerns of event access and whatnot are solvable. I would propose that you all explore concept 1 with the adjustment of keeping the concrete protection along most of 3rd Street while using flex posts instead of curbs along the block where the convention center is. That would give some flexibility to event organizers while maintaining protection for everyone year round. I think it's been 3 years of studying. I think the path forward is pretty clear. Let's fund the project and finalize the design and build this thing. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, Will Green.
Thank you, Chair Stark and committee. Will Green, I'm live on 3rd Street, actually, just south of McDowell, off Hance Park. And I'm on the board of Urban Phoenix Project. And actually, bike commute through Hance, I cut 5 blocks east through the park to get to 3rd Avenue to get to work south of downtown in the warehouse district. So I would certainly utilize this bikeway. Yeah, I guess, just seeing the renderings for the, first time I've seen those images changes my perspective a bit. I would think I would echo some of what William, the first speaker, said. The parking protection provides some, measure of protection. What I don't understand is why we're removing the vertical protection elements in sections that don't conflict with the convention center. When I bike down 3rd Street, today, I think I feel most uncomfortable around like Songbird Coffee, and so basically the section just south of Roosevelt that has plenty of space there, and so it seems like vertical protection is still possible, where we can have it. And I want to thank Jerry Harper from the Convention Center has just recently agreed to dialogue with Urban Phoenix Project and sort of the broad coalition of groups supporting the protected bikeway extension about a potential compromise to, are there strategically placed flex posts we could put in that portion by the Convention Center, I think it's Monroe and Washington, to work around the Canaan on 3rd Street and find a win-win. So we're hopeful that's possible, but thank you so much for your time and work on this.
Thank you. Next speaker, Patrick McDaniel.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the subcommittee. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. And also thank you to the other speakers who have passionately and articulately shared their thoughts on this very important topic. My name is Patrick McDaniel. I'm speaking today in my role as Advocacy Director for Phoenix Community Alliance. After the presentation and comments, both in line and on person, from a range of stakeholders on this issue, it is clear that more work is needed. We need to find a common ground that meets the needs of all stakeholders while promoting safety, connectivity, and also being flexible enough to meet future needs in our rapidly evolving downtown and increasingly urbanizing downtown. This can be best achieved through purposeful, meaningful stakeholder engagement, more technical information as it relates to traffic, and dialogue and updates to all parties throughout the process. We have 6 million visitors to downtown Phoenix throughout the year. And we also have an increasing number of residents that live here throughout the year. We need to meet all of these needs. This is a generational project that has the opportunity to connect South Phoenix to downtown. We need to take the time to do this right and do it in a manner that is safe and effective for all. Once again, thank you for the opportunity to speak today. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker, Sean King, you said speak only if necessary. Okay, Sean, thank you.
Madam Chairperson, fellow committee members, thank you for your time. I am here representing my employer. My name is Sean King. I'm representing my employer, the Phoenix Symphony. We do have concerns with this project, especially the corridor when the Phoenix Convention Center would be activated. Where is this traffic going? The traffic's impact also to our patrons when they're coming to and from events, both with this bike lane implemented, and then if the bike lane is on an alternate route around the convention center, how would that impact, especially with the Regency Garage being put out for a bid to be removed? I yield the rest of my time. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Mika Cadiz. Welcome.
Good morning, Madam Chair, Committee. My name is Mika Cadiz. I live actually in the area between Roosevelt and Lincoln where this bike lane is proposed. I strongly support this measure to add the protected bike lanes all the way from Roosevelt to Lincoln as originally proposed. I live and work in this area, and like many of the people here, I don't own a car. I'm a scooterist. I get around primarily with that and with the bus and the light rail. Cars are, by an extremely wide margin, the most dangerous form of transportation for both drivers and pedestrians. The lack of protected bike lanes pose a serious threat to my safety and the safety of many others who live in this area. On multiple occasions, I've nearly been hit by cars on 3rd Street, including in the bike lane in the segments that are not protected. Phoenix is already a heavily car-dependent city. Downtown is one of the few areas that's more walkable and bikeable, but residents can't take full advantage of this without the safety that's provided by protected bike lanes. I don't want to fear for my life every time I go to work or buy groceries or meet my friends. And I want to emphasize that the lives of those of us who rely on these micromobility tools to move through the city aren't less valuable than a few additional parking spaces or a few seconds shaved off of someone's car commute, especially in a city that's already ceded so much of its space to cars. Downtown is a growing, vibrant space. Adding these bike lanes will not only make it safer and more accessible for current residents, but will draw even more people in, generating more business revenue. So I strongly urge you to adopt this proposed measure, and particularly Concept A with the protected lanes. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, Eshan Sharma. Okay, I got a thumbs up.
I'll give that an 8 out of 10 right there. That was pretty good. Thank you guys for your time this morning. I'm going to keep this pretty short. This is my first time speaking in front of the City Council, and it's because I think the issue today is very important. It's important enough for me to take an hour off work in the middle of the weekday. So I'm in support of this resolution for 2 major reasons. The first one's going to be safety, and the second one is going to be a quality of life concern. Earlier this year, a family friend of mine was struck by a car and died on scene as a result of injuries suffered because of the accident. Previous to that, I wasn't really as aware of urban safety as I probably should have, but it got the ball rolling in terms of what can we do to prevent something like that from happening to anyone else ever again. And that's when I learned about bike lanes and how they can contribute to pedestrian safety. And so that's a major reason for why I believe we should be implementing a version of Concept 1 and Concept 2 to ensure that we can see some improvements to pedestrian safety in Phoenix. The other one is a quality of life concern. I'm 23 years old, and I want to spend more time with my friends. I want to spend more time finding random reasons to hang out as opposed to having to go plan out a lunch or a coffee date or anything because everything is so hard to get around to and meet up with each other. Bike lanes encourage the idea that we can go out for the day and spend the day walking around, maybe biking around, and stop at a cafe, stop at a park, and that's something that I think that we should be encouraging in our community. because of those two reasons, any version of a compromise between, I think, concept 1 and concept 2 is going to be extremely important to advancing both of those very important missions to me. The vision of the committee today and the council has really inspired me to continue to engage in these processes. And my goal is that in sharing this testimony, we can help expand that vision to include more of our community's goals. Thank you guys for your time.
Thank you. Next, Rocky.
Good morning, Madam Chair, council members. Today I come to you as a concerned business owner along the 35th Avenue corridor for the BRT project. So trust is the foundation of any public initiative, yet the company leading this project, HDR Incorporated and AECOM, carry histories that erode confidence. HDR Incorporated has engaged in corporate counterinsurgency, using social media monitoring to anticipate and disrupt public opposition to controversial projects. This raising alarms concerning about their role in conducting our current and past BRT surveys, which were tactics can manipulate community.
Excuse me, are you on topic about the bike lanes?
Oh, this is the BRT thing?
Yeah, this is about the bike lanes.
Oh.
Are you
No.
here for call to public, perhaps?
No, I was here for the open public comment.
Okay, does it relate to the bike lanes then?
No, it's the BRT
Okay.
program.
Yeah, we'll wait for call to public. Sorry
Oh,
about
I'm
that.
sorry. Did you call my name?
I did, but I apologize.
Okay.
I will call you during call to public. Okay, on the phone, Nicole Sanderson. Is she there? Okay, Nicole?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. Good morning, council members. I'm here speaking on behalf of the Downtown Core Community Neighborhood Association. Our membership, which is made up of Downtown Core residents, voted in favor of this project, the protected bike lane version. In fact, our neighbors to the north, Evans Churchill, as well as Warehouse District to the south, all these neighborhoods have voted in favor of this project. We're all in support of having a connected and safe bikeway all the way from Indian School to the Rio Salado. And we are the neighborhoods directly impacted by the downtown segment. We want the bike lane built to a standard where even non-confident riders like children and the elderly can feel safe. Infrastructure like this induces demand for bike travel and micromobility travel, and having a north-south spine that is safe and makes downtown trips predictable for people on bikes and micromobility will guarantee access to the cultural venues, jobs, and neighborhoods of downtown Phoenix via low-cost transportation, and that's what's important. We've already seen a lot of success in some of the segments of this project. For example, on 3rd Street from Indian School to Roosevelt, after implementation of that bike lane, overall crashes for all users of the road dropped substantially, far more than a citywide reduction over the same period. Also, severe injuries and deaths fell to 0 after the bike lane with the vertical protection was added. So let's bring that standard through downtown where demand for this type of travel is the highest and the conflicts are still present. So 3rd Street, if done well, can be a catchment area for everyone traveling north-south on a bike or micromobility in the area. So between Central and 7th Street, where that whole catchment area, there are still a lot of frequent cyclist-involved crashes.
Thank you. I actually did, clearly I need my cataract surgery sooner than later. I apologize. I was scheduling for December, but maybe I better get it at the end of this month. But I did miss someone, Sterling. I apologize. This really is a little bit of a vision thing for me.
Hi, thank you, Madam Chair, council members. I'm here speaking in support of Concept 1, a fully protected bike lane from Jefferson to Lincoln. I think the idea of vertical protection is incredibly important, and I think there's room for flexibility, flexible posts around the convention area. So we can have that cement vertical protection through most of the route, and then have the plastic flexible posts around the convention, so that we have that sort of flexibility and maneuverability there. But yes, I do think it's very important that we have this this way for people to get around, especially in downtown. And I think it's very important that we have this protection, because drivers can get confused, people can make wrong turns, turn into the bike lane, not a good situation. So that's why I think that this protection is very important. Thank you all very much.
Thank you. I believe Amy arrived from the Diamondbacks, so maybe we could have her testify quickly, and then I'll go back to on the phone. Thank you.
Members of the subcommittee, thank you. Amy Lynn Pierce with the Diamondbacks. I just wanted to pop in quickly and say that we really appreciate all of the work that has been done on this issue. We've had several conversations over the last handful of years about this issue specifically. The Diamondbacks absolutely recognize the need for bike lanes in the downtown area, and absolutely recognize the need for making our downtown livable and usable for all of our citizens in Phoenix. But we are very, very concerned with this, specifically about the safety issue of taking down the car lanes on 3rd. That is a main road to and from the stadium and the arena and our shared parking spaces. It will certainly impact ingress and egress. It will require much more public safety, which we would absolutely be in favor of, as long as it was something that made sense. So safety is our main concern. We certainly secondarily have concerns about the ability for our fans to get to and from the games. This would impact Uber, Lyft, and Waymo drop-off significantly. It would also impact all of the garages around not just our facility, but the arena as well. And we would encourage the committee to continue conversations about this rather than make any decisions today. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. We'll go back to the phones. Next speaker, David Bickford. David?
Yes, thank you. My name is David Bickford. I live in District 6, but I work downtown. I commute to downtown via bicycle or sometimes via a mixed mode commute, bicycle and public transit. I am also currently serving as the president of Phoenix Spoke People, an organization which is dedicated to making Phoenix a friendly, safe, and welcoming place to ride a bike. I was extraordinarily inspired and excited when I heard about Concept 1 over a year ago. I'm now, to be candid, profoundly disappointed to see the watered down Concept 2 that has been unveiled here at this meeting. My fear is without that vertical protection, those bike lanes will be invaded by exactly the type of traffic that was mentioned by the previous speaker representing the Diamondbacks. In other words, that bike lane will be invaded by Uber, Lyft, Waymo, Amazon deliveries without that type of vertical protection. That's why it is crucial that we keep that element in to the greatest extent possible. With regard to the stakeholders, it is important to remember who really should be in charge here and whose interests should prevail. The Diamondbacks and the Suns alike, their arenas, have received considerable financial assistance, whether direct from the city of Phoenix or indirectly through the tax concessions in the recently passed state law. Given that level of generosity, the least the city can demand is that they accommodate this safe passage through downtown Phoenix. With regard to the convention center, I cannot tell you how frustrated I am hearing repeatedly that the convention center owns that segment of 3rd Street. Because what that statement ignores is that the city of Phoenix owns the convention center. And you as the council and the city manager therefore have the ability to guide the convention center into the appropriate use of that canyon. It was cited earlier that there are 40 of them.
Thank you. We're going to keep you online. Councilman Waring, you had a question or comment?
So I thought about saying something after Amy Lynn spoke. As someone who goes to the games, you put 50,000 people, which I believe is the capacity, or just short, of that stadium. But even if it's 30,000, when I go to games with my son, they do an excellent job of getting you in and out. Phoenix officers are there and so forth, but you got light rail, you got pedestrians, you got people roaming all over the streets. As a driver, you really have to pay attention. I actually take 7th Street, both more or less coming and going. But I can tell you, I don't think I'd ride a bike down there during a game, for sure, just for fun. So that's number one. But number two, to the comment about the stadiums and the subsidies and who owes what to who. So the only stadium that I ever got to vote on was the Sun Stadium, and I voted against public subsidies. But I will say this, the people you're punishing aren't the people who own the teams and got the subsidies. You're punishing the people who are going down. It's like the city lured people downtown to make our downtown more cool and so forth, and to spend money at the restaurants, and then we're going to punish those very people by making it harder for them to get in and out of games. So I'm not sure how that computes. So I don't think that's a talking point that's got a lot of legs. Bottom line, if you do this, just know you might be inconveniencing a lot of people that you depend on for revenue, because we built the stadiums down there. Whether we should have or shouldn't have is done. They're there. So if you look at the light rail stops, they're usually pretty crowded. Not normally when I drive by light rail stops, but certainly during games they are. A lot of pedestrians. I mean, you might want to consider not having bike lanes during those games, because I don't know how we're going to feel if somebody gets hit. And just having been down for I don't know how many games, but a lot, I would say you're just asking for trouble. So I'd make that point. I don't know how, maybe other people will also say I go and it's perfectly fine. Okay. But right now, it's a pretty good traffic flow, as someone who's gone to a lot of games in other cities as well, where that is definitely not the case. You go to games in Chicago, you better block off 8 hours or so, 3 for the event and 4 for getting out of the parking lots. But just food for thought. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker on the phone, John Demko. John?
Yes. Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Good morning, Madam.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Awesome. Hello. Hello, Madam Chair and council members. First of all, I'm John Demko. While I do not live in Phoenix at this time, visitors like me can benefit from a safe path to bike overall without feeling their safety from weaving traffic. And I am speaking as part of the Urban Phoenix project. Looking at the concepts 1 and 2, I endorse a compromise between them. Since there was no parking protection north of Fillmore, please consider implementing the vertical protections there. But however, due to the concerns with the stakeholders south of Fillmore, especially at the convention center and around the sports stadiums, I'm fine with the parking protection. But you could also consider implementing removable vertical barriers, such as temporary concrete bollards. Thank you to all the staff for all your hard work on this project.
Thank you. The next speak only if necessary, Nicole Rodriguez.
Hi, good morning. Thank you, Chairwoman and council members. Nicole Rodriguez here. I serve as the president on Urban Phoenix Project Board and as well as the Valley Urban Action Alliance. I know Councilman Waring well enough to where he's going to know I have a lot of legs. So on that topic in particular that we were just commenting on with the D-backs games and the arena games and patronizing our businesses, we don't want people to immediately leave our ball games. We want people to stick around and patronize our downtown businesses. And one of those things is going to be in ways of encouragement for having safer multimodal access to get around. So if you do drive to the D-backs game or any kind of game or event, take a scooter or take a bike and go to a local restaurant right after. There's no need to race out of there. And that's what we're continuously seeing over and over from these games are more people are wanting to hang out in our community in downtown and not race out of there. And it's not convenience versus convenience for cyclists. This is our way of living. I gave up our vehicles years ago, and it has opened up access for my family of 4 to many other opportunities because we're not paying for insurance and other maintenance for our vehicles. But the thing is that this is convenience that is arbitrary and anecdotal of a driver, which I have been for years, versus someone who needs to get around safely. And we want children to use these bike lanes. What about Bioscience High School, who supports in the past for having safe, protected 3rd Street bike lanes? That's where my children went to school, who are now graduated, and one just graduated from the Air Force Academy. That's where they went to school every day, and they went to 3rd Street bike lane and then had to take a lot of different diversions just to get safely to their high school. So these are the vulnerable users we're not thinking about. It's age, it's older folks, it's younger folks, and it's safety. So with that, I would like to say also, we're a key stakeholder. We haven't had like the D-backs several meetings like we heard from Amy from the D-backs. Urban Phoenix Project and other constituents have not had those several meetings with this.
Thank you. Councilman Waring, you had a comment?
Yeah, to that point. So it used to be that 1.5% of Phoenix residents live downtown. Now it's skyrocketed to 3%. For some reason, the city's hung up on getting people to live downtown. Don't know why. Not entirely clear, not on my high horse, why we would put the stadiums where only 1% of the people live, so everybody has to drive or ride their bike or the light rail. I'm guessing, based on what I've observed, 85% of the Diamondback fans who go to games, or the Suns, are driving. I see some nodding heads, so I bet I'm not that far off. To hear that all these people from, I guess, Tatum Ranch or Desert Ridge are gonna ride their bikes to these games, that seems a little ludicrous. But okay, maybe they'll drive to a light rail stop somewhere, miles from their house, with their bike in tow, or bikes, because most people aren't going to the game by themselves, of course. I certainly wouldn't be. I'm not exactly sure how I'd hook up all these bikes to my car to drive them to a light rail stop, to then take the light rail downtown and take it to a game. Hell, I'd rather go downtown to the idiot stadiums locations in Chicago than do that, when I say it out loud. So I guess we just probably shouldn't be doing public policy on aspirational things that are probably gonna happen when they colonize Pluto. I don't think the people going to Diamondback games, who I'm gonna go out on another crazy limb and say many of whom live in Scottsdale, North Phoenix, way out in Mesa. I think that's the fan base. That's why the stadium in Glendale failed. Before somebody says, well, there's a football stadium there, those games are on Sunday and there's only 8 to 10 of them a year, depending on how you count the preseason games, and the occasional playoff game. This is 81 games, plus the Suns is another, I think, 41. I think their season's 82. So this is a different thing. Season ticket holders aren't gonna do what we're talking about here. That's not realistic. They can afford to have their own cars, whether you like it or not, and they're gonna drive them. So impeding that isn't the best idea I ever heard. I didn't vote to put the stadiums there. That was some other decision. But you can't ignore the fact that it happened, and now they're there. And also ignore the fact, rather blithely I might add, how 90% of the people are actually gonna get to the games. We make lots of decisions so that 3% can, I guess, be happy. But I think in this case, forgive me teams, it's not cheap to go to those games. And so, people are spending hard-earned money to get down there, and to make it a bad experience, you know what they'll do? They'll find something else to do. So I would caution us, since now the money, a lot of it public money, has been spent on these stadiums, Incentivizing people to not go, which is kind of what we're talking about doing here, is not a great idea. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, Mike Gill.
Yep. Hi, everyone. Can you hear me all right?
Yes, we can hear you. Thank you.
All right, great. Yeah, thank you so much. Good morning, Madam Chair and council members. Fascinating points made, especially in regards to baseball. So yeah, I'm Mike Yale. I moved to Phoenix last year for work, and like so many people who've recently moved here from the Midwest, I'm still getting used to calling 95 degrees nice biking weather. But yeah, I'm here because I care deeply about the safe, connected bike infrastructure. I believe this bikeway is one of the most important projects Phoenix can deliver for safety, mobility, and livability. I'm actually moving to a condo in Midtown this Friday, where I plan to bike to work and co-working spaces frequently, other events downtown, volunteer opportunities, and I'd really love to safely bike to places just like the Phoenix Symphony or Diamondback teams. When I was living for Chicago for 8 years, I safely biked to Wrigley from Logan Square several times. It was actually a brilliant way to avoid having to wait for a super expensive Uber or cram into a train. But right now, biking north to south through downtown is fragmented and risky in my experience. We have several beautiful segments, but they just don't connect. So, fully protected bikeway from Roosevelt to Lincoln would finally make it possible for residents, workers, students to move safely through the city center without a car for all sorts of activities beyond, these few events that we've been talking about. Cities have completed similar corridors that have seen 40 to 50% fewer crashes, noticeable uptick in foot traffic, retail activity. And research also shows that when cities invest in safe, micromobility friendly infrastructure, the overall physical activity among residents rises, especially for those short daily trips that improve cardiovascular health and community well-being. And Phoenix deserves those same results. But as others have said, I recognize the folks' concerns about the vendor operations on 3rd Street, and it doesn't have to be an either-or decision, right? I think there's a win-win compromise. And as others have said, the city could use these flex post bollards instead of concrete barriers.
Next speaker, Lucas Vargas. Lucas?
Hi there.
Hi.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, my name is Lucas Vargas. I'm a student and residing in District 6. Over the summer, I had the opportunity to work with the Urban Phoenix Project to cover the really important 3rd Street bike lane question. And it's something that I care really passionate about, that many of me and my friends who cycle really care about as well. And it's something that I think is really important to keeping our city safe. I'm extremely concerned by the language surrounding possibly cutting down the project, minimizing its scope, or pushing it off further. This is something that the city has been considering for the last 11 years, almost since I was in elementary school. And to me, as someone who loves the city and wants to see it become more equitable, more sustainable, it's shocking, and it's also disturbing to me that we haven't already built this sooner. So I would encourage everyone on the subcommittee, everyone in the streets department, to please make this a priority and build it to its fullest extent. There is no world in which we can keep our full usage and efficiency of car travel at the same time prioritizing the bike infrastructure that we promised over 11 years ago. So I would very much appreciate it if we would make this a priority. After all, it's people like me, people trying to get to school, whose, frankly, safety and their lives are on the line. And as a future resident leader of the city, I want to see a better future where cycling and my kind of lifestyle is more acceptable. And I think 3rd Street is the way that happens. So I would encourage all of you to please make this a priority and carry out to its fullest extent. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, John Walker.
Good morning. Thank you to the committee, the subcommittee, for taking my comments. My name is John Walker. I'm also with the Phoenix spokespeople. We have been advocating for safer streets, especially for cyclists, since 2012. I'm a Coronado resident. I live in the area, and I do bike every day. I commute to work. I also take my 3 children to work. 2 of them ride their bikes, and my little guy's on the back of my cargo bike. I go up and down 3rd Street every day. It's a beautiful way to get around. And the project that has been completed north of Roosevelt is frankly miraculous. It's really wonderful. Usage has increased drastically. I notice cyclists, families every day. It's a lot safer, and that's especially noteworthy because there has been such an increase in non-motorized users. So this works. And the question is, do we want to implement that safety farther south? And I think the answer should be yes. Biking to downtown is not a great experience right now, primarily because 3rd Street is not a great north-south corridor, and we need to support that. And I strongly support concept 1. Paint is never enough. If we go with concept 2, it's not going to slow down cars. It's not going to make cyclists safer. It's not going to increase ridership. Parking protection, I'll also point out, only works when there are cars parked there. So when there are no cars, there's no protection. And frankly, I don't think that's a viable option. We, Phoenix spokespeople and some other folks, are putting on something called Critical Mass this Saturday, and it's going to involve families and children riding their bikes. And we've been working with the city, we're very thankful for that, to help coordinate the event. And the idea, we're going to be going on 3rd Ave through the Willow neighborhood mostly, with several dozen, likely maybe even more, families and children. And we are able to do that because we have this protected infrastructure. So that protection is critical, and I strongly support that. Thank you.
Thank you. Our last speaker, Sean Sherian.
Hello, can you hear me?
Okay. Welcome.
Hello, my name is Sean Cherian. I reside at 3rd Street in Roosevelt and am a board member of the Evans Churchill Community Association. I'd like to say I strongly support the implementation of physically protected safe bike lanes running north-south, south from Roosevelt to eventually connect with the Rio Salado. I believe that I prefer concept 1. However, I could see concept 2 being implemented correctly if it was done well with the parking separation and parking protection. I'd like to see bike lanes implemented in downtown, especially given that it's maybe the only region in Phoenix that has the density to support biking and alternatives to driving. Thank you.
Thank you. That's all our speakers. I just have a couple questions. First off, as part of the study, you're looking at how it connects to the current 3rd Street bike corridor to the north, correct?
Madam Chair, members of the subcommittee, yes, that is part of what we were evaluating and will continue to evaluate.
And as you evaluate, are you looking at other cities, like the gentleman that mentioned he, excuse me, bikes to baseball games in Chicago when he lived there? Are you looking at other cities that do have separated bike corridors and how they actually interface with other types of land uses?
So Madam Chair, members of the subcommittee, I think that is some of the due diligence or additional coordination that needs to be done, including additional traffic analysis. So we've had extensive coordination meetings with both the Suns and the Diamondbacks. And while we've heard some of their concerns, I think we have not really sat down and drilled into impacts to the Sunburst Plan, how we're moving people in and out of downtown. And I think some of those key details need to be worked out and have a full understanding.
Okay, I appreciate that. I know last time I went to Seattle, they have quite a few separated bike lanes, and they seem to work well with some of the major businesses. Are there any questions? Yes, Councilwoman.
Thank you, Chair. I want to start off by thanking the Streets Department for their presentation. As you may recall, I was the one that specifically asked that this item be added back to our agenda. And it's because we've heard a lot of conversation from our biking community to ensure that this has not been forgotten. So thank you for taking the time to do so. I want to start off by emphasizing that I fully support connected, safe bike access and infrastructure improvements in our city. But at the same time, our downtown and the areas near our stadiums and attractions, including the Symphony, all of those experience very high traffic volumes. So there are some concerns that we would have if we were to move an entire lane. So one, I wanted to focus on ensuring the public understands the extent of the recommendations that the department is bringing forward. Because I think you've stated correctly when you started off your conversations, yes, this is going to be challenges, but this is also an opportunity for collaboration and creativity in the way that we think about this. So I definitely want to ensure that that is the mindset in which we move forward with this, with the next steps. So I'm in support of returning it to bring this to the stakeholders so we can have the conversation. But I want to address a couple of concerns that I heard as we were listening to the public comment. One is ensuring that this is not by when we say that we're going to do additional stakeholder work, that this is not an opportunity to further delay this project. Can you talk a little bit about what we anticipate to happen during the next steps?
Madam Chair, members of the subcommittee, Councilwoman Hodge Washington, yes, I think the first step that we really need to do is start working with our consultant to do some additional traffic analysis, right? So that's going to be the first thing. In the meantime, I think we really need to sit down and kind of have a working meeting with the adjacent stakeholders to really understand the operations during event days and get a good understanding of how we're moving people in and out of downtown during those days, what the impacts would be during those events, how people are getting in and out of garages. Then we want to bring both the stakeholders as well as some of the key stakeholders associated with the active transportation community, and that's where the collaboration is really going to happen. This really is going to have to be a compromise solution, right? Both sides are not going to be able to get exactly what they would prefer, especially considering the funding costs associated with Concept One. I know what I've heard today from a lot of the public comment is the interest in the protection. The $17 million price tag just does not make it viable for this department to be able to fund that. And so I think if there's an opportunity to bring all parties together and have this collaborative discussion and this willingness to find a compromise solution, I think there's some opportunities to move forward.
Thank you for that. Thank you for explaining that. I think you actually anticipated my questions. My next question was going to talk a little bit about explaining how Concept 2 a little further. It has its benefit from a funding perspective as well as a time frame perspective. Do you mind sharing that a little bit? And it's not to say, I want to make sure my comments are clear. I'm not saying that Concept 2 is the only way forward, but I think it's important to understand the logistical concerns that Concept 1 versus Concept 2 will have in terms of timing.
Yes, Councilwoman Hodge Washington, I think the funding piece is a very critical piece. I think when we look at a $17 million price tag versus a $2 million price tag, I think the $2 million affords this department an opportunity to identify local funds. When we are looking at something above $10 million, right, that is where we are really looking at federal grant opportunities. And so that really just delays implementation. So we think it's something that is manageable. I think what we heard also through public comment is this willingness to maybe sit down and look outside of where it directly impacts the stakeholders, that maybe there could be some form of protection, maybe with the vertical delineators. So I think we're open to having those conversations.
And then you, in your comment, you indicated outside of $10 million, we generally have to look to federal grant opportunities. Are you aware of any current federal grant opportunities that might align with this project at this moment?
So there may be some. We're working very closely with our federal partners to see what opportunities are out there. The RAISE grant is a great example for the Rio Salado Bridge that we were able to secure federal funding. So we have a strong team who's prepared and really watching out for opportunities, and it's something that we do regularly and are committed to do. But again, applying for those funds is always a very competitive process. And so right now, I'm not aware of anything specific that's on the table for a project like this, but we will continue to monitor.
Okay, thank you. And grant opportunities are not guaranteed, where we have to compete, as you mentioned. I want to also go a little talking about like time frame. With respect to the traffic study, I believe that is an important component of any step moving forward. Downtown has a number of plans, for example, including the sunburst plan. And we just want to make sure that all of those considerations are taken into are factored as we make this determination. What would a traffic study look like in this situation?
So, Madam Chair, members of the subcommittee, Councilwoman Hodge Washington, I believe that because we already have a consultant on board, we could move very quickly with the traffic study. Obviously, gathering data would be one of the first key components. I think we could be prepared with the traffic study, maybe late spring, and be able to start sitting down and having those conversations, and possibly return to TIP subcommittee, maybe right after summer recess might be a good time frame.
Okay, thank you so much for that. I also wanted to address one of the concerns, the concern I heard from one of the public comments, and I think it may be an opportunity to explain a little clearer as to why the recommendation is to not include Jefferson as part of this, but move it forward into the connector bridge study. Could you explain a little bit on that?
Yeah, thank you, Councilwoman Hodge Washington. That's an important factor because south of Jefferson, we have an existing Union Pacific Railroad crossing. And if anyone has had the opportunity to work with the railroad, there is extensive coordination and discussions that need to happen. Some of our railroad projects have taken up to 10 years. I think there are some opportunities to start those discussions now, start working with the railroad on what this looks like. That's going to take and would delay this project significantly. So the thought is if we modify the project limits to Jefferson so that we could potentially move forward with the connection from Roosevelt to Jefferson, and we would incorporate the section from Jefferson to Lincoln in the 3rd Street connector study. And we would continue to work with Union Pacific on that because that is most likely going to require gates and flashers at that location.
Thank you so much for that. I think that covers the bulk of my questions, Chair. I just want to again reiterate, I really am supportive of a collaborative response to this approach. I think the stakeholders we've heard from majority have indicated a willingness to work collaboratively to see how we can move this forward. I think we can balance cyclist safety as well as ensure we are not interrupting traffic flow significantly in the 3rd Street area. So I look forward to hearing this coming back to us. So thank you, Chair, for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you. Councilman Waring, did you have a comment?
I did. So when you're pondering all this, I want you to ponder a couple other things for me. So I talked about the sports stadiums and the traffic flow and so forth. We also tend to build plans around the idea that everybody's in tip-top condition and making all the right decisions and following all the rules and the traffic flow. Well, sometimes, and no way imputing the teams, and I'm being serious here, and I'm not one of them, but some sports fans drink alcohol when they're at the games. And some people come in from out of town for games, so they're driving unfamiliar streets in rental cars. Our downtown is already a traffic hell. Let's not pretend it's not, because of all the signs, the light rail, the one-way streets, and so forth. Any of you guys gonna sit there and tell me you personally haven't seen a wrong-way driver on either Washington or Jefferson? Because I've probably seen a couple hundred in my time working downtown. For the people on the phone who are like, oh, doesn't know what he's talking about. I walk downtown, I've been working downtown for 25 years or something. So I drive downtown most every workday quite a bit. And it's very convoluted if you're not used to it. So throwing in more barriers and go this way, don't go that way, when you already got a lot of one-way streets and stop for the light rail and you got police because you got pedestrians roaming out in the road coming from the stadium, and you're gonna make it somewhat more confusing. I just want you to think about that. Keeping in mind that these games mostly end later at night, probably later than a lot of the patrons are used to staying up, and it's dark, and they're not used to driving downtown because, as I've said, most people don't drive downtown at night because they don't live down here. It's nice for the people who are like, I want bike lanes because I'm moving downtown. That's great. How much infrastructure are you going to spend for 3% when the other 97% have to drive or find some other mode of transportation to get to the games? Because that's what's happening. You may not like it, you may not like the stadiums, you may not like the public funding. Some of it I agree with, some of it I don't. But we can't pretend that those stadiums aren't going to be there for the next 30 or 40 years. They're a fact. They're there. The fact that people drink at the games is a fact. The fact that people come from out of town and don't know where they're going and they're driving unfamiliar cars, that's a fact. We can pretend it doesn't exist, but that's foolishness. If people get hurt doing this, because we didn't design this perfectly, and it would have to probably be perfect, then that's on us. Shouldn't be enticing people into dangerous situations. We've already enticed people downtown with the stadiums, and because of where we put them, everybody has to drive to get to them. A few will take light rail. A couple will ride their bikes. I'd be curious, maybe the Diamondbacks can go study how many people are riding their bikes to the stadium. A few live in condos down here and walk, that's great. It's a few. Now they had, I think, 2.5 million people this year come downtown. I don't know how many the Suns have, I did math, but I think I saw that the Diamondbacks had a really good attendance year. That's exactly what we want. That was the whole point of building the stadiums in the first place. But to do what we're talking about, the way we're talking about doing it, I just want you to consider all those factors. It sounds like by the time you actually do it, I'll be off this council, hold your applause. But I fear that there'll be some tragedy or something, and I'm gonna be sitting there going, that could have been avoided. So please think about that as you move forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? All right, it appears we have more study to do. And though I agree that we have a lot of people that drive, I think we're seeing younger generations not driving as much, so we probably need to take some of those factors into account as well as you do the study. Thank you. Our next item is approval of the Historic Preservation Plan.
Madam Chair, members of the subcommittee, we have Josh Bednarik, our Planning and Development Director, and Helena Redder, Historic Preservation Office, who are going to present the item.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the subcommittee. We're excited and proud to be here today to present the Preserve Historic Phoenix 2025 plan, which is an update of the City Council adopted 2015 plan. The plan tells the story of our successes since 2015, reaffirms our goals for historic preservation in Phoenix, and outlines what we'll do together to achieve those goals. I'll turn now to our Historic Preservation Officer, Helena Redder, to provide an overview of the 2025 plan. Helena?
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the subcommittee. Let's see, I'll move forward here. As Josh noted, this is an update to the city's first comprehensive historic preservation plan, which was adopted in 2015. You'll see this superimposed on top of an image, basically looking at cityscape in 1890, if we were standing on top of the historic City Hall today. But this, we had hired a consultant to come out and do some focus groups to listen to what folks continue to see as challenges to historic preservation in Phoenix and what might be potential opportunities to advance historic preservation. And then they basically went throughout the country and looked at what other municipalities were doing to come back and provide us with some recommendations. And that was what really launched the public engagement process in terms of community meetings and surveys. So the Preserve Historic Phoenix 2025 plan is a supplement to the city's general plan, Plan Phoenix 2025. And it really highlights how the connections between history, culture, and the material past are fundamental to the city's central vision of a more connected Phoenix. It talks about the public benefits of historic preservation and really puts that into perspective of the general plan, highlighting how historic preservation benefits all of the different 5 core values, including things like connecting people and places and strengthening the local economy. It also outlines the functions of our office, our sister office, the City Archaeology Office, and then also the Historic Preservation Commission. And as Josh mentioned, it really highlights the accomplishments that we were able to make over the last 10 years from the original plan adoption. We did update our vision for historic preservation as part of this plan, really looking to hone in on how we link appreciation for our heritage to the citizens and how we can help promote that to sustain it for the benefit of present and future generations. And then we're really looking to work more collaboratively with community partners to identify places of historic and archaeological significance to implement strategies for long-term preservation. So what we did find as we started the public engagement process and took the recommendations of the Place Economics in their report that they provided to us was that the original 5 goals from the 2015 plan were really still relevant today, but that there are new opportunities in terms of potential tools and policies to help us achieve those goals. So the original 5 goals outlined in the 2015 plan were to protect archaeological resources, protecting historic resources, exploring preservation incentives, developing community awareness, and promoting partnerships. And then I'll go into a little bit more detail here. So our sister office, the City Archaeology Office, is actually under the Department of Arts and Culture. There is a city archaeologist and a contract staff person that helps with reviews, but understand they have a very demanding workload that could be better improved by increasing staffing in their office. One of the things that we're looking at more specifically is amending Chapter 8 of the zoning ordinance as it pertains to historic preservation. The Chapter 8 actually calls for the protection of archaeological resources, but it kind of stops there. There's not a lot of detail about the actions that we can take. And along those lines, sort of looking internally at helping to better create sort of the internal city processes across departments, we'd like to look at creating a formal administrative rule that outlines the expectations for how each department works with the City Archaeology Office. Also amending the ordinance for protection of historic resources as well. One of the things that we heard of when we started the focus groups and different meetings was this pretty constant concern about development pressure. And for our residential historic districts, another thing of concern was folks coming in and making pretty substantial modifications and doing demolitions without permits. So a couple of things that we'd like to potentially look at in terms of amending the HP ordinance is potential extensions of demolition delays, and then also strengthening enforcement for non-permitted work that happens. Enhancing our design guidelines, particularly as we know we want to encourage greater density. How can we do that sensitively? And another thing we're excited to investigate is this concept of a heritage property designation, which basically would be more honorific in nature, recognizing that not everyone is seeking designation through zoning overlay, that the heritage property classification would give us sort of an avenue for honorific designation, much like the National Register of Historic Places does, but that we could potentially look at different ways to incentivize and celebrate those designations. So one of the things that the Planning and Development Department has been working on internally is creating a series of pre-approved ADU plans. Again, mentioning, very much the desire of the city and our office to facilitate density, but looking how we can do that sensitively is working with this initiative to make sure that we provide people opportunities for ADUs or additional dwelling units that work within historic districts. The city currently under the downtown code has sustainability bonus credits where folks who are either designating or putting conservation easements and investing money into rehabilitation of historic properties can qualify for additional sustainability bonus points, which can get you greater density, reduced parking, greater lot coverage, to really incentivize investments into our historic properties, also recognizing the need for greater development in other areas. And then finally, as we look to maximize our existing infrastructure with our Office of Customer Advocacy that's works on adaptive reuse projects, how could we potentially look at sort of a heritage property designation to better integrate with the adaptive reuse program, and what other kind of incentives we could bring online to make sure that we're, not just looking at necessarily those properties with the formal HP overlay, but how do we kind of help preserve character elements of the city? Developing community awareness. We really want to understand, we understand that historic preservation in terms of concept and theory can be a little overwhelming. So how do we make it more engaging as a topic? Particularly, how do we work with property owners so that they understand, what it means buying in a historic district, or what it means to be designated, kind of the processes that you need to go through. So we're looking at creating a more comprehensive sort of HP 101 series. Along those lines are education tools for realtors who are selling in our historic districts, so that they can let folks know, again, hey, you're buying in a historic district. This means X, Y, and Z for you as a property owner. We'd like to continue and ramp up presenting on relevant HP topics. One of the comments that I received going out to the villages with the plan update was, please come out, talk to us more. We do have kind of a tendency to obviously focus downtown or right around the downtown area. So how can we be doing a better job of getting out to other parts of the city to present? And then finally, one of the concepts is to actually hire a consultant to help us develop a formal community engagement plan. And then finally, under promoting partnerships, one of the things that we've realized too is that, within planning and development and the city as a whole, we can be doing a better job of integrating and working collaboratively. So one of the things that we're looking at to sort of streamline is our section taking on site planning reviews, making sure that we're covering the bases for what our office is looking for, but then also eliminating an extra step in the process that people would have to go through. Similarly, doing some additional department collaboration, which planning and development as a whole is working on that initiative. But how can we, make sure that all of the different departments are working together for the common goals? One thing, we are basically the only city or only large city in the country that doesn't have a city-affiliated HP nonprofit. Such an organization, is able to go out and do fundraising. And, we'd have to kind of consider what focus area that that entity would go towards. Would it be public education? Would it be fundraising to do building rehabilitation? There would be a lot of discussions that would come out of part of that is what the direction would be. But having a city-affiliated nonprofit could kind of open up new opportunities. And then finally, our city archaeologist's office has been doing an amazing job working with our local tribal historic preservation offices, but we want to make sure we also don't lose sight of that in our office, in the historic preservation office. So continuing to work to develop and promote those partnerships. So we went through the village planning committees, all recommended approval, 12 with direction, and those sort of specific direction items went forward to the planning commission. So there was a separate staff report with the proposed edits from the direction that we received. And staff is recommending council that the Transportation Infrastructure and Planning Subcommittee recommend council approval of the Preserve Historic Phoenix Preservation Plan update per the Planning Commission recommendation, and happy to take any questions.
Thank you so much. I think what you do is probably more important than ever, as you noted, that we start to march out of the downtown area into other parts of the city where we're seeing historic preservation happening. I know I see it in Sunny Slope, and I know there's other areas as well. Real quick question on the commission itself. I know sometimes it's so specific. Is it difficult to find applicants to be on the commission. Is that something maybe as a council we need to reevaluate? And I don't mean to put you on the spot. If you need to think about it and come back, I'm fine with that as well.
Thank you, Chairwoman, members of the subcommittee. There are several roles in the 9 members that are specific, right?
Yeah.
So having an architect, an archaeologist, a historian, real estate professional, and we tend to do pretty well.
Okay.
The historian and archaeologist can be sometimes hard to find someone living in Phoenix, but by and large, we've been pretty successful at finding folks.
Great, thank you. Any other comments, Councilwoman?
Thank you, Chair. I also wanted to say thank you for this presentation and for all of the community engagement that went into updating the Preserve Historic Phoenix plan. It's encouraging to see a continued commitment to protecting our city's history while we're looking ahead to the future. In District 8, historic preservation is not as common, but it's just as important. I think it's kind of telling. Today we have 2 on our formal agenda that will be provided historic preservation overlay. And to me, our stories, our neighborhoods, and our landmarks deserve to be remembered and celebrated as well. I'm just curious, is there any additional steps that, or steps that are being taken to help ensure that neighborhoods in where historic designation is not as common are included in future preservation efforts? And again, kind of piggybacking on the chair's question, is there more that we could be doing to assist in that endeavor?
And thank you, Chairwoman and Committee Member Raj Washington. I think, some of the things that we're looking at right now, be it like the heritage property designation, where we know, obviously, particularly with residential historic districts, Proposition 207 and having sufficient numbers of folks sign those, it's harder now, right, to do sort of zoning-based residential district designation. So that's kind of one of the areas why we're also investigating the heritage property designation. And then we're also looking at some of the current surveys that we're doing now and survey initiatives to gear them towards National Register, opening up the pathways for National Register designation. And then when residential historic districts get National Register designation, they can qualify for a property tax reduction through the state. So that can also kind of provide greater equity in terms of, having additional representation from different parts of the city, different contexts and themes, and then also kind of opening up that benefit for other folks.
Thank you for that. I really appreciate the emphasis on awareness and partnerships and how do we expand this. And I just look forward to seeing how the plan can bring more attention to the unique history, I think, particularly in District 8 and beyond. Thank you, Chair.
Any other comments? Yes, Councilman Robinson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just, Helena, a real quick comment with regard to the work that your office does. You helped us in District 6. Very appreciative of that. And we look at how expansive HP actually is. It is around the city. It just depends on sometimes how you look at it. But that having been said, why don't we, and it may just be one of those things, why don't we have some type of a city-affiliated HP nonprofit? I mean, I'm just more curious about that because with all of the the attention that was paid within my district, I'm just curious, there are a lot of folks engaged. I would think there would be something similar to it or some type of nonprofit that would help.
Thank you, Chairwoman and Councilman Robinson. That honestly, that is a really good question. And since I have been in this position, and I'm not sure, Josh, since you've been with Planning and Development, if there has been an initiative to do that. I know with our local nonprofits, it's been,
You might know.
Yes. I know when I
knows.
was planning director, we did try to pursue it when Michelle Dodds was the Historic Preservation Office, and we just couldn't get the momentum.
Okay.
But I would agree, maybe it's time to revisit because we are growing our areas that are now a part of what could be defined as historic preservation. So I think it's worth pursuing again. I think it's a great idea, and if you need help, I'll be more than willing to help.
Thank you.
The magnitude of folks who are engaged in our issue on the side of Camelback Mountain with the Beetle home. There were just a lot of heavy hitters, for lack of a better word. And, folks care. I found out how much they cared. Yes. And there's little doubt in my mind that they would be willing, I would think they would be willing to come together to further their cause. So that's why I mentioned it more than anything else. But thank you, Madam Chair, for the time.
Thank you. Any other comments? Well, can I get a motion then? Oh. Okay, a motion, I'm sorry. Yes. So we have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. The ayes have it. And now we proceed to call to the public, and if the city attorney can explain public comment.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, thank you.
During citizen comment, members of the public may address the subcommittee for up to 3 minutes on issues of interest or concern to them. The issues being addressed, however, must be on the subject matter that falls within the jurisdiction of the Phoenix City Council and upon which the Phoenix City Council has the power to act. The Arizona Open Meeting Law permits the subcommittee members to listen to the comments, but prohibits members from discussing or acting on the matters presented.
Thank you. So, Rocky, you can come up. Now, I really apologize, and I wasn't kidding about cataract surgery. I'm due. And 8 and 0 look a lot alike on the sheet. I apologize.
Yeah, you kind of threw me off there. So, good morning again, Madam Chair and council members. I had a whole speech written out, but I'm just going to speak from the heart. I'm a small business owner on 35th Avenue. I'm here today to talk to you about the BRT corridor, the community outreach. I first got involved with this in 2023. Until I went to an in-person meeting about this, I really had no idea what this was really about. And I've been involved ever since. I've gone to multiple meetings, web seminars, emails, reached out to every business owner I could think of just to bring this to light. So one of my biggest concerns since day one is the way the community outreach program has been ran. I still can go today, actually on Saturday, I went out and there were still business owners and property owners along this corridor that have no clue of what's coming. And what's coming is devastation. These property, once I inform these small business owners of what is going to occur on this corridor, they are devastated. And one of the saddest things is they think their voices don't matter. And I try to tell them your voices matter, that you need to speak up. And that's the saddest thing. All my emails that have gone unanswered, all my phone calls that have gone unanswered, some of those emails that I've emailed council members of my concerns about this were unanswered, yet they were forwarded to the company and the team that's running this community outreach. And I see that, meetings that I've been to, I see that they somehow come up with counter talking points about the things I was trying to bring to light. And until recently, this company that is running this program I found out, had previous lawsuits involving manipulating the community's voices about dissent against some of these things that, people don't want to deal with. So I just ask for you guys to please reconsider, look into these companies that are running this community outreach. The survey that was just done in spring, I did a public records request on that. And I got an Excel sheet that could have simply been changed. It's not something that I would expect for Phoenix to do going forward, with transparency about this and openness and involving the businesses. So please consider meeting with the business owners and talking more about this.
Thank you. We're not allowed to respond to you, but if staff could please reach out and make sure we have his comments and see what happened. Thank you. Okay, our next item, future agenda items. I think we want to talk a little bit about flooding, but is there any others? All right, then we stand adjourned. Thank you.
designing homes and residences and different kinds of retail buildings. He wasn't really known for designing and drawing a theater.